And,
Welcome to His and Hers. I'm David.
and I'm Deanna. And this week, we're going to spin off the episode off of last week's episode because we got so much positive feedback that everybody kind of wanted to go off the cheating aspect. Why? Because there's so much cheating that goes on in relationships.
It's actually become common. But the episode's about why do people cheat. So we definitely like some feedback on why you think people cheat. First, we think there's an emotional disconnect between people. You know, if you're not emotionally involved with each other, you're a maintenance. You know, you're not maintaining a healthy relationship. You're not nurturing it. It seems to go very dull. And when it goes dull, you kind of start looking for the next best thing, the next excitement.
That's a big thing right now is when anybody's in any type of relationship, are you emotionally compatible? Because, yeah, you look cute together. Oh, she's beautiful. She's this. But then you find out you have nothing in common. And then you find out you're not even emotionally compatible. When you don't have that emotional connect, like he was saying, the relationship goes nowhere very quickly. And you don't want to be with somebody for like months and months and months. And then you get your heart broken because they have the wandering eye. So,
Hey, I think it's very healthy for people to observe other people. Men to look at beautiful women, women to look at really good looking men. I don't know a woman out there that doesn't like The Rock or Aquaman, whatever I forget his name.
And we did touch upon this last week too.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's going to look. And I have to agree with David. I mean, come on. Everybody fantasizes. Everybody has, what do you guys call it? The fantasy reel?
Well, fantasy, that's one of the reasons people cheat. They have fantasies.
Right. I mean, there's no harm in looking. Touching is different. I mean, come on. I mean, you see a good looking guy go, I mean, you're going, damn, he's fine looking. Even though you might be on the arm of some guy, you're going, wow, check him out. Everybody looks.
You know what? If a good looking man walks by, I notice.
And
I'm not gay, but I do notice.
And I will admit, if I'm with a guy, I'm like, oh my God, look at her. Damn, she's pretty good looking. Like
a lot of times I look at what they're wearing, like, what the hell were they thinking? Did they look in the mirror before they leave? Oh my God. But
yeah. I mean, sometimes it's that too, like, oh my God, is that electrical tech? How'd they let her in like that? Yeah. You do that too.
like we said last week in a relationship, you know, the beginning of a relationship is new. It's exciting. Oh, a lot of thrills in there. You know, and then sex is always great in the beginning. Years go by. It kind of normalizes. Things get dull. Especially if you have kids, then your world revolves around kids. No longer revolves around you. It revolves around the kids, right? So then, now you have no time for yourselves because you're always with kids. And all of a sudden now you're like, you need something new and exciting, something different, something to get away, something to just release yourself and feel good. And of course, a lot of men feel that way. A lot of women feel that way. And then they find each other. And then they start cheating.
You know, that.
And how long does it last? That's another good question. How long does it last? Because people could say, you know, they start having sex with it, cheating, and then then that gets old and boring. Then what? Find somebody new. So it's like kind of a revolving door.
Well, going back to, getting old in a marriage, there's something else like, because it gets stale and all that stuff, and something to think about. And it goes back to the fantasy and all that. Playboy magazine, Pornhub, all that stuff was invented for a reason. So I know in a lot of things, women get upset like, oh my God, I caught my husband online looking at naked women. And you get so offended. Like, he doesn't even look at me. And, he has me right here. He could have looked at me. When was the last time you actually bought lingerie? for your husband.
So you bring up a good point about porn. A lot of women see that as cheating
Yeah,
because you're having sex with someone visual. Of course, it's with yourself, but hey, but you're visualizing somebody else. And a lot of people see that as cheating.
me personally, I don't. Um, he's looking at it. He's not with somebody. He's looking at it. It's like he said, it's a release.
Yeah, but women are like, why don't you have that with me?
Right. But if you look at it, like you look, okay, what is he looking at? All right, he's looking at, all right, a woman giving a blowjob. Like, all right, so why not use that to your advantage? Surprise him with a blowjob. Like, whoa, where did that come from? You know what?
Actually, you know what? You're watching porn. Wife or girlfriend catches you. Let her just finish the job.
Exactly.
You watch porn, she's taking care of you. Freaking paradise.
Right. Use it to the advantage. And it goes back to communication, which sometimes that's a lot of times is a problem too. Communicate.
Communication is always the root to everything.
Mhm.
But with that being said, there's a lack of connection between you two emotionally. People get very lazy and complacent in their relationships, and they quit trying. Hence, quit trying. You get bored. What's new?
Right. And like you said, you quit trying, getting back to like what I was saying earlier, like, okay, when was the last time you bought, like, say, lingerie? Now, I always, with different women, like, why don't you go and get like a nice, like, lacy bra set? I don't like to wear lace, it itches.
Well, that'd be something we talk about a little later, is like keeping it interesting.
Right.
We lose the ability to communicate with each other, as she was saying, to keep things fresh, keep things new, try new things, new toys. And sometimes cheating, because it's easier to express that with somebody different, somebody new, somebody that may be in the same boat as you are, and so you lose the ability to communicate with your spouse or whoever you're in a relationship with, because it's easier to do these kind of things with somebody you just met.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easier maybe to express yourself with somebody that's a total stranger than to maybe admit to whoever you're already with, like, hey, you know what? I want to try this. Where a stranger, it's like, it's easier just like once and done. Like, hey, let's, dress up
Well,
like
let's experiment and try something
experiment
new.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping things fresh and trying new things with your partner, it's just easier to experiment new things with somebody new.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting where you're willing to try new things with somebody you just met at a bar, but not with your partner. And like he says, it still goes down to communication. And why are you so afraid to communicate with your partner and say, you know what, I read this little fantasy, I want to be a little Red Riding Hood tonight. Is it okay if we try it?
You talk about fantasies. And women, I've heard of women think this is cheating, is how many times has your partner fantasized about having sex with somebody else? It's you. They're fantasizing somebody else. Is that cheating? I mean, it's with you, right? But they're thinking of somebody else.
Oh, what happens when they accidentally call it the wrong name? That's like, oh my God,
That's why the word "oh baby," "oh honey," yeah, that's why those words are very popular.
Right. Right. They're like, oh my God, he was thinking about so and so while he was doing me. Well, sometimes things do happen, but is it cheating if they call it the wrong name? It goes back to emotional connection. Were they actually emotionally connected to you while they were doing it? Now, if they call out Jason Momoa,
Wow. You'll never hear me call him that, but okay. Man bun. Saw Aquaman. got that man bun going on. I just do not like that.
He's stuck on the man bun.
Ever since you brought it up in the first episode. Oh,
Well, I'm not a fan of a man bun on a guy myself, but what can I
man
say?
bun. Another reason we think, getting back to cheating, what we call like bad boundaries with people outside the relationship. They come from, friends, people you meet, become new acquaintances, or even like you have in-laws living in your house. Because with in-laws, you lose your privacy. It's not like you can do the things you really want to do because your in-laws are there, right? So, I mean, that creates kind of a rift. And if you can't do sexual acts at home, where do you go? And then that leads to who do you do them with?
Mm-hmm.
Or, what was it? Shania Twain, right? Yeah, it was her and her husband, her best friend at the time, and her husband. Well, it wound up that her husband and her best friend had an affair. They wound up getting married. Shania Twain wound up marrying the other guy, her ex best friend's husband, and they're still married today, I think. But friendship. I mean, you see somebody else, you got this connection, things are good between you, you guys get along great and all that. And there's a lot in a relationship. The first thing I think, one of the first things to go is sex. Because you're having sex like every day, then it's once a week, and it's once a month, then it's once every blue moon. I mean, it just goes on, right? So you have friends, they're in the same boat you are, you know.
And things just happen.
So bad boundaries.
And like sometimes too, it's like like you said about the in-laws interfering and all that, and you're frustrated because like one like, well, what do you want me to do? What do you do? Because the fights start happening.
Oh, fighting's the next topic we're going to talk
Yeah.
about. But one last thing I'd like to say is even how many of you would allow your partner to go out to dinner or lunch or spend time with their ex? I mean,
That goes back to the trust issues.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Would you trust them to go out with their ex?
Me personally, I'd flat out tell her, be like, look, if you want your ex back, you let me know. I'll file the papers tomorrow. But
You know what? I think it depends on the situation. If there's children, if it's like a remarriage and there's children involved,
well, yeah,
that's a
definitely.
little different. I think we should clarify that.
I mean, I've had girlfriends that have had kids, and I was always friends with their ex, and I always thought it was important for their ex to be a part of their kids' lives. So, and that I'm not replacing them, so they didn't have to fear or feel threatened in that aspect. But you know, but you know, ex comes back into town, your partner goes with the ex. It's nothing they haven't done before, right? Do they do it again because it's been a time frame? Um, the lust could be there. Oh, one last fling. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a little bit different. If it's like a little vacation where the kids are involved and you're all going on vacation because of the kids, that's a little different. But if it's just the two of you going on vacation, yeah, I agree
Well,
with
I'm
you.
not saying going on vacation. I just mean,
Yeah.
um, I'm at work and she's not, and the ex isn't, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go out for lunch, or go out for dinner, or go hang out." Yeah, does that have any lust in that relationship? Because it was already there. It's probably still there.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then getting to what you were saying is the fighting.
Hmm.
Fighting unfairly. I mean, conflicts happen, right? Arguments are going to happen. They're unavoidable.
Right.
But when you fight, words hurt, not sticks and stones. Words hurt.
Yeah.
You let your emotion run. You throw off the filter. and you say things. And you probably will say things you regret, things that you can't take them back.
Right.
You know, you can't not say what you said. You might not have meant it. I mean, there's a lot of times we say a lot of things just to hurt the other person. We don't mean it. Still, words hurt, and we say things. So what does that do? Drive a wedge between us. Somebody leaves the house, somebody goes here or there, whatever. Timing, you know, one of us, I don't have to put up with this crap. Go out, go hook up, you know.
There is actually a term for that, and it's called revenge sex. And it's you have a fight, you go to the bar to find a hookup because you purposely want to hurt that person. And is it fair? Hell no. And a lot of times, and there's a lot of regret, and like you said, words hurt. And like, why did you do it to begin with? Why did you want to hurt this person? And what was the fight even about? A lot of times, and a lot of times the fight was over something so stupid, and so was it worth it in the end? No. And a lot of times, should you guys even be a couple, if it got to the point where you want to do what they call the revenge sex, no, you shouldn't even be a couple at this point. You should just clean break, leave. You should never get to the point where you want to do something that vengeful. And
No revenge sex, makeup sex.
Makeup sex is good. You have a fight. I have to agree. If you ever have a fight where you're arguing all that stuff and you just turn, you know what? Makeup sex. That is the best sex. It really is. You know.
Why is that? Because you're riding high on emotion. You are freaking. You got so much energy built up in your body.
Yeah.
And sex is nothing but energy.
Yeah.
So you got all that energy, and then all negative energy, I should say, and then the release is a positive energy. Best sex you ever had, right?
Yep, and it releases those endorphins, especially if you're the first one. Go, you know what, honey, I'm sorry, and you go down on your guy. It releases those endorphins, and it really does make you feel better. It makes him feel better, and makes you feel better too.
Okay,
it's true.
So another reason for cheating comes to mind is making assumptions about your relationship. As Deanna pointed out, communication, and I think compromise are like the two biggest of anything of everything when it comes to relationships. And to assume that you are solid in your relationship, if you're not communicating well, you might not be. I mean, I know people that you ever notice, I've known people that, like, the wife files for a divorce, the husband is floored, like, where did this come from? She signs the divorce, she runs across the hallway of City Hall, gets married to somebody else. A divorce is always easy for somebody that has somebody else to go to, somebody else to fill that void. You know, they've been cheating on you the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard when you're the one that gets blindsided.
Yeah.
But without having that communication, with assuming that your relationship is great and solid and everything's fine and dandy, without communicating, you really don't know.
Communication is key, and that's something I learned when I was married, when I was going through a divorce, and I was blindsided, and I know exactly what he was saying and I learned that, and that's one of the things I've always said in anything relationship. I always say communication, communication, communication. That's why I keep saying it.
I mean, just because you slept with them, just because you say I love you,
anybody can say those words.
How true I mean, you probably do and all that, but you're making an assumption on your relationship on words, you know, on just something that's been said in the past, something that's, you know, kind of, you know, love you, and you know, that's it. There's no heart to it. It's like, yeah, but you assume a relationship is solid until it's not.
Sometimes it's the little things too that means a lot, and that's something I think we also take it like a big disadvantage of, like our advantage of it. Like we just assume, oh, they love us. Meanwhile, the signs have always been there. We just ignore them. Like, oh, he used to always make me coffee in the morning, and he no longer does it. He just goes out the door ignoring you. And you just go about your normal routine. But you never make coffee for him.
Complacency.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's just little tiny little things
You
that
ignore the red flags.
you ignore them. Same with
Why? Because we assume our relationship is good.
right. And it's funny, anybody that has been cheated on, you know you're getting cheated on. You know it. You ignore it. You just have a feeling. It's like when you you see them with the phone and all that stuff, and they won't let you see the phone. And all of a sudden one day you just get the guts up and you pick up the phone and you just, oh my God, and you see the text messages or you see the dirty pictures or whatever.
Yeah, like you said, though, I think people have an idea of what's going on. They just deny it because they don't want to believe it and it's easier. It's the easiest way out. And then sooner or later, you just get hit. You're caught between a rock and a hard place and you get hit with reality. And in a way, it shocks you, but you really knew what was going on.
I always tell people when they can't decide something, always go with your gut feeling. Your gut never leads you wrong. We ignore our gut. It's our head that messes us up. And I've come to find this out true. In my marriage, my ex-husband did cheat on me, and I knew he was doing it. And even the day I caught him, I believed the excuse that was given to me. I walked in.
I slipped and fell into her.
No, you're going to love this. She had nowhere else to go for the weekend. Her roommate had an out-of-town guest, and she had nowhere to go but to stay at our place because I was going to go to Pittsburgh for the weekend, and she was on top of my husband. Yeah, that's how I caught him. But I knew something told me to turn around, and I did. And that
sounds like mounting evidence to me.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was the weirdest thing, and I didn't go. I went with my gut.
So I mean, sex addiction. Sex addiction. You know, that's is it real? I mean, I love sex. Am I an addict? Yeah, who doesn't? It's extremely pleasurable. And you know what I mean? But when you're in a relationship, it's supposed to be pleasurable with one person and only one person. If you want to count yourself, throw in two, but
well, there is treatment for sex addiction, and they claim it's something in their brain, and they have to have sex with multiple people. Like they literally will have sex with one person, then the next day they are with somebody else, and then they were somebody else. Even though they've got somebody at home, they cannot get enough sex, and it's a real addiction. That's what true sex addiction is. And supposedly, some people will use that as a blanket excuse because they're cheating on somebody and because they're bored with their own sex life at home with their spouse. So they'll use that. I have a sex addiction, and that's why they've cheated on their spouse like 3 or 4 times. Some of these celebrities will use that as an excuse because that's why they cheated on so-and-so, you know. But a real sex addiction is actually a real disorder of the brain where they literally need to have sex. They literally will just go out. They'll actually have sex, and 2 hours later, they're out again having sex. That's the real disorder. Not, there's a cute little blonde. Let's see if I can get her. And then, there's a redhead over there. I'm going to get her the next night. No, that's cheating. So that's something else. You can't use a blanket excuse. I have a sex addiction.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that excuse because I just don't. I don't see it. I don't believe it, and maybe I just don't understand it as like you explained it. I still don't. Look, if you like to have sex, you have sex. If you like to have sex with different people, it's not an addiction. It's a preference.
Right.
You know, it's something you choose. Yeah, sex addiction.
Right.
I think they gotta make a medical term for everything nowadays.
Right. Like, so the one that's truly a sex addict, they are under a doctor's care. And it is, like I said, it's not a common thing. It really isn't. And it's something, like I said, it's a blanket excuse that people come up with. The real disorder, you're under a doctor's care and you're on medication to help you control those impulses. And I think it's only like
It's a
1%.
chemical imbalance.
It's a chemical imbalance.
Isn't everything though?
Yeah.
Well,
There's a
so,
pill for that.
so with addictions, drugs and alcohol, I mean, that impairs your judgment. Maybe it just frees up your judgment. You know, it's something you want to do, something you're thinking, but you know, you're without being intoxicated, morals or ethics, you know, whatever, you restrain yourself. And, you know, alcohol or drugs, just impairment and kind of free your addiction. You're like, hey, I've wanted to do this. And what's your name?
Yeah. I forget what celebrity it was. I read their autobiography, and they were heavily addicted to drugs, and they were married to somebody, and he was out on the road. It was a musician. When they were out on the road, he was so high and on, I think it was heroin, that he literally didn't know what he was doing, and he would sleep with, you know, all the women and all that stuff, and it destroyed his marriage because he was cheating. He said when he thinks back to what he did back then, he's clean and sober now. He says he knows he destroyed his own marriage. He had a good woman, and it was the drugs and all that stuff. It made him someone he doesn't even recognize.
Yeah, it definitely can create a rift between couples.
Yeah,
It's a lot of arguments, especially if you're an alcoholic.
hmm it
or a
does
drug
change you.
abuser.
Yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah, that can, and that does test a relationship when you're in love with an addict. That really will test your boundaries, and that goes back to those, like we talked about earlier, about the boundaries.
Disposable marriages.
Yeah, yeah, and you know that's a true strength of a relationship. When you're in love with an addict, that really is. That's true love right there. If you can get them through that, because that really takes you through some ups and downs, and it's not a bed of roses.
Yeah. So, in a closing note regarding cheating, I honestly think the act is less than the trust. Which I mean by that is, I think when you cheat on somebody, you're violating their trust and the commitment you made to them. And that is a lot more hurtful to somebody than the action of you having sex with another person.
And I think, you know, every relationship's a little different. And you can have a relationship where somebody has cheated, and you can forgive that person, and you can communicate that it will never happen. But the truth is, you're always going to have that little fear. It's always going to be in the back of your mind.
You know, people say once a cheater, always
Always
a
a
cheater.
cheater. And you're always going to wonder, will it ever happen again?
It makes you wonder, makes you think. How many cheaters are out there?
hmm
I mean, it's not uncommon anymore. I mean, it's a very common, heck, they got television shows about that, right? All over the place.
Look
Jerry
at,
Springer,
and look at
cheaters. Go figure.
Ashley Madison, the
Yeah.
website. It was created for people that want to cheat. I mean,
Yeah.
that was that big scandal there for a while because the names got leaked.
Yeah. So cheating's probably become a lot more
Common.
common. Good word. Common.
But why
And,
is it common? That's the question.
I think we answered that in our podcast.
Right.
At least I hope we did.
Right.
And if not, we sure love your feedback, comments, anything we can add to the show. Like I said, this show was created because of your feedback
Right.
and your comments. We had a whole different show we planned on, but
You guys really inspired for this one, which I'm glad because you guys really are tuning in, and I
And we
love your
appreciate it.
feedback.
Appreciate it a lot.
Right. So hopefully we'll get some more feedback, and we are open to suggestions for show ideas. So
Always open to show ideas
yeah,
because you are our audience, and what you want to hear, that's what we're here for.
right. So
Just our opinion, though.
yes. So till next time, we'll love to give you our opinion on whatever you like to talk about, us to talk about. We'll see you next time.
Till the next time.
Bye-bye. I think it stopped. Now I can edit it.